Well, for the first time in this year's derby, the remaining Greyhounds were all in action on the one night, and 48 became 24. We saw some brilliant performances, and Kevin, I know you're a happy man. JAYTEE Taylor, joint fastest of the night with LENSON Blinder. A great performance by those two, but again, we'll start from the start. And Toto's Park got Graham Holland off to a flyer. He had 4 heat winners in the night, and this fellow winning in fine style. Last week, some of us would have perhaps suggested, wow, that was a freak run. Tonight he proved it wasn't a freak run. This is a greyhound in the form of his life. Okay, he's 3 years of age, but this is a dog that's really reaching the peak of his powers, and he's a serious player in the derby considering how he's running.
Yeah, I was one of those. I didn't necessarily think it was a freak run, but I definitely didn't see it coming. I think that's the best way of putting it. I didn't see where he pulled the performance out last week, but tonight he justified that run. He was awesome again tonight from a tricky draw on paper with the likes of Slippy Keane with great early on his inside. He handled it well. Slippy Keane didn't get away well and moved off the second bend. There was a bit of barging there in behind. Slippy Keane ran on very, very well again in for second. But Toto's Park, backing up what he did last week, a massive player in the game now, and nobody will want to see him drawn against you with that early pace. Yeah,
indeed, a fine display. Slippy Keane, as you said, didn't get off to a flyer, but ran a great first bend, then drifted off, but went from fourth to second in a matter of strides, which sort of worked in his favour. Liam Dowling gets another one through. Ballymark Arminta, he knows how to progress.
Yeah, and a special word for her. I was standing on the back straight, and on the video you don't understand the bumping that went on at that second bend. It was very tough, and for a light bitch like her to ride that bump and run on the way she did, that's a real progressive lady. She will be very, very hard to beat in the latter rounds, trust me.
Okay, on to the second heat, and here CROSSFIELD will. He finally put everything together. We saw last week what he's capable of. He showed unbelievable pace from the sort of after a fluff start to the third bend and then faded away. Tonight was away a bit better, flew up the inside of Kilgraney Master. That's a fair achievement to even have the speed to match Kilgraney Master to the corner. Once he went to the front, he quickly put it to bed, stretched on down the far side and cruised home. Comfortable winner in 29.49. He is going to have to be consistent at the traps, but there's no question he has the pace to be involved in the derby.
Yeah, definitely. Look, he produced a run over in Toaster that raised everyone's eyebrows. We know how good he is. Peter just has to keep him doing that. It's going to be very tricky, but when he does things right, as you saw tonight, it's just a taste of what he can do. I'd have no doubt he can go even quicker than that if he'd done absolutely everything right. Hopefully with a bit more confidence now after getting things perfect tonight, he can progress again. I'm sure he can go faster. It was great to see him doing that. Kilgraney Master, brilliant for Thomas Buggy into the quarterfinals of the derby. He's a great old warrior, that dog. We know trapping isn't his forte. It's funny to say that with such an early pacer, but once he hits the ground, he's electric. And Jelly Flood keeps on qualifying for Martin Lanny. As tough as all boots, that runner, and you definitely don't want that lad turning on your heels.
Yeah, indeed. Jelly Flood tonight actually turned sort of third into the back straight, so for them it was never really a sweat. I actually thought he was certainly to pick up Kilgraney Master, but Kilgraney Master just stuck on better than I thought he would, and he held on by a head from Jelly Flood. But a good winner there, CROSSFIELD will, in 29.49. Going 10 spots faster was LENSON Blinder in the next heat, again showing that tendency to swing off the opening corner. He gave Magical Bale a good thump. I thought Magical Bale ran very gutsy in the feet, but once LENSON Blinder straightened up, got his momentum going again, he was never going to be beaten. And 29.39, considering the momentum lost on the corner and the bump he gave Trap 4, it was a hell of a run.
Yeah, it was, and look, we know that Trap 2 did that last week, done it again this week. You'd like to see him keeping a pitch on the fence, because he is throwing away a little bit of time even doing that. And when you consider he done 29.39, if he ran the bend as sweet as a nut, he's capable of going quicker but yeah, like you said, Magical Bale, very impressed off that bump on the bend. You would say if he had been drawn inside LENSON Blinder, who knows, but he ran very, very well. And then Ballyan Sim, it got messy up at the third bend there. Panther was coming to probably qualify there, bumped with 3, couldn't get by, and then Ballyan Sim picked up the pieces to get through in third. They'll be delighted to qualify, but yeah, a fastest run of the night, giant fast run of the night, LENSON Blinder. He's definitely one of the fastest starters in the competition.
Yeah, Ballyan Sim there, as you say, they would have been saying goodbye to the derby into the third bend, but just the looks, that's the breaks, and he's a dog that could play a part in this derby. I'm not saying he's going to win a derby, but if you're one of the best early speed dogs in the race, you don't want him on your inside, because he's going to absolutely fly to the corner. So moving on, this next heat, speaking of dogs that fly to the corner, I have no doubt he wasn't the fastest on the clock, but to the third bend, no Greyhound has gone faster in this derby as far as I'm concerned. Cabra Hurricane flashed out of trap 4. By the corner he was 4 or 5 clear. Okay, Whoops Jack didn't get his flyer, but at the same time, to be left as far as he was by Cabra Hurricane was something spectacular. He increased down the back, and from the third bend home, despite his stride shortening and he was sort of coasting, he still held on comfortably by a length from Coulivanny Jerry, who ran a big race in defeat. Whoops Jack back in third, but this was about Cabra Hurricane and that early speed. It was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, 3:29 he did here 2 weeks ago. I don't know what his sectional is, but it just, they all couldn't have missed it that bad. He had to have blown the lids out of it. You called it last week, you said it, that he would lead up Whoops Jack, and he did. Now I know Jack didn't get away, but I don't think it would have mattered. And I'm Jack's biggest fan. I genuinely don't think any other greyhound in Ireland or England could have started with him the way he pinged it tonight. He was away like a scalded cat. The time at 29.62, he seems to be a 29.60 dog, but like you said, even in your commentary, who's going to lead him? When if he starts like that, there's nothing that's going to lead him to the bend. And once you're in front, they all can't get around with clear runs, so he's going to be a massive player. Nobody wants to draw him with that early speed. Coulivanny Jerry, I thought 3, like you said, I thought 3 would pick him up. Off the second bend, he's within about 5 lengths, and we've noted and we've been saying that Cabra Hurricane probably is not staying the strongest. He was tough tonight because, like, Jerry was making inroads, but it never looked like he was ever going to catch him. Even off the last bend, it never looked like he was going to get to him.
To use a horse racing parlance, I have a feeling he sort of changed his stride down at the third bend. The Coulivanny dog just lost a little bit of momentum. Again, he's still raw, he's still young. I just have a feeling that will just probably cost him that length.
Yeah, no, you're right. He did stumble just on the bridge of the bend. He seemed to dip a little bit, or maybe he was changing his legs, like you said. Jack is through, as Peter said, over the far side. There's always a banana skin round. He hopes that that's it. One tonight, missing the break like that normally would see him potentially going out, but he'll be just delighted to be in the quarter final.
He did ease a little bit on the corner. He doesn't really like dogs in his inside at that bend, but of course he doesn't often have them there. On to the 5th heat of the night, drive on tip. I to be honest, I thought this fellow was just going to see out the end of his racing days. He's approaching 4 years of age. He's January 15. He's one of the joint oldest in the competition with Whoops Jack, but tonight, a resurrection. He absolutely rocketed from trap 3, and once getting around the corner, sort of everything transpired in behind. Nothing was going to get at him because he got loose in the bunny, and as we know, he's a very talented greyhound. 29.58. It was a fine run. Bakery Lane ran well in second, and Doggy McDogface ran well in third. He's after missing the kick 2 weeks in a row now. That's going to be a concern for his followers, but he's still capable of it. But this night was all about the alpha drive on tip, despite being not all that old. He comes down as one of the oldest in the competition.
Yeah, but definitely he was back to his best tonight. He pinged it as well. He was away like a rocket, and once you get away like that, an old stage like him, you knew he was never going to be beaten once he got away. Bakery Lane, I'm sure Ollie Bray is just breathing a massive sigh of relief. We know how much he wants the inside. Just getting through from 5, he'll be just over the moon and pray for a better draw. Like you said, Doggy McDogface, that's 2 weeks now he hasn't started as well. If he gets back to what we saw in the first round, we know he can mix it with them all. He can take them all on. You still wouldn't want him on your inside in trap 1 if you were in 2, because he's he's capable of much more. The one thing I'd say, and that was sad to see trap 4 Ballymac Bulger getting hurt in that race, but you'd have to feel for connections. But drive on tip, awesome in victory.
Yeah, Ballymac Bulger, I'm afraid. It looks like the end of his racing days, but who'd be surprised if Liam Dowling came back with a youngster out of Ballymac Bulger in a couple of years' time and ran well in the Derby or a Puppy Derby or something like it. On now to Heat 6, and here JAYTEE Taylor, a dog you're kind of fond of course trained by your father. He's looking the real deal. Tonight came away reasonably well. My only sort of slight gripe is the fact that he wasn't further clear on the corner from the start, but you have to like the way this fella strides out. Of course, you are very happy with him. He's going the right way, and he's deserving of a very lofty position in this year's Derby. Yeah,
look, you're right. I think there's dogs in this Derby that can go to the bend faster than him. A length and a half faster than him. I don't think that's any secret. He's doing 3:40 sectionals. As we said earlier, Cabra Hurricane is doing 3:29. However, he's still producing on the clock as fast as what they're doing every round. He's just that good. Whether or not he'll get away with it if there's trouble at the corner and he doesn't get clear, I have no doubt that if he turns second or third, it'll rile him. I'd have no doubt that he's more than capable of coming from off the pace. I think he'll probably have to. I don't think he'll come from last, or he'll have to come from last, but I do think there's probably faster dogs to the bend than him in the competition. But I think off the second bend, from there to home, or definitely from 2 to 3, he's as quick as anything in it. Look, he's doing everything right. You'd have to be over the moon with him. He's had kind enough draws as well so far. Hopefully that continues. But another word there for Bear a gig in 6. The Boltons have this dog flying. 4 races ago, this dog was not near what he's doing at the moment, and he's just every week he's getting better. He's in the form of his life. Jeremiah Charm, great for Jerry to get that one through. Ran a big race last week. I highlighted her last week. Ran well again tonight to qualify. And look, 3 strong runners in that race, and I'm over the moon with my own lad.
Yeah, Berrigig is the real fairy tale in that story. I was talking to Tommy Bolton prior to racing tonight, and he was buoyant. He was just delighted to be here, involved at this stage. And he's going to be back for a quarter final of a derby next week, and he's one of 3 wide seeds left in it, or 4 wide seeds left in it. Not a bad position to be in. On now to the next heat. This was perhaps on paper one of the more open heats of the night, but NEWHALL Missile, a dog that's very progressive. He really has come into his own in recent months, and this fellow, after winning a graded 5.75 here back in July, has now won a heat of the Derby, second last week, and wins tonight in 29.67. We saw what he can do last week behind Whoopsjack. He flew down the back straight. Tonight, when he hit the front, forget about it. They were never going to catch this fellow. Droopy's Floral, for a bitch that used to want to hit the front early because she wouldn't quite get it, is now getting 5.50 very well indeed. She's not going to the corner like she was. And Coulivanny Pet just continues to roll on. Yeah. She's an old lady. She's had a lot of racing, but she's very hard to keep out of the frame. But this one was all about NEWHALL Missile, a really deserving winner. Yeah,
very much so, and running really well. Completely missed the break in the first round, still managed to win. Ran brilliant behind Whoopsjack last week, and brilliant again tonight. You'd have to say John Brown is this lad absolutely flying. One that's flying under the radar. If you're looking for one of the big price most nights, he'll be it. He probably doesn't have the profile or the high name coming into it, and that's why. But on what he's done in this derby so far, he's been very, very impressive. He completely missed the break and still won the first round. Clocked well last week, clocked well again this week, wins again tonight, and he's going to be. He's there for everyone to take note of.
Connections will be hoping for an inside draw again next week and hope for a bit of luck.
Yeah, you will need an inside draw with him. There's plenty of them in there, them inside seeds that you don't really want to fancy putting them out in 4 and 5. Droopy's Floral, summed up there. She was flying from start, but she's not doing it now, but she's running on so well. Coulivanny Pet, what do you say? She done 30-36 in the first round. She's improved massively from the first to the second. She's improved again, and we all know what she's like. When you're competing against her, you never want to see her on your tail because she's just a competitor. She's an unbelievable competitor, and I'm sure the Dowlands will get her fine-tuned up again for next week again. I'm
sure they will. On now to the final heat, and this was a Graham Holland 1-2. Into the third bend, we thought it was going to be a different 1-2. Clonbrine Hero had just mastered Clona Blaze into the third bend, and it looked like it was all over, but Clona Blaze dug deep, came back and got up in the final strides to win in 29.55. A deserving success, a dog that's going to have a great draw most nights. He has a lovely turn of early speed. He's going to go further. He probably will find one quicker than most likely going to be in his own kennel. As we keep saying, he's probably not in the top 2 or 3 of the kennel now, but a big run tonight. Clonbrine Hero is now further in the derby than he made last year. Fair play, he's running very well indeed. Few miles in the clock, but he's running Shelbourne Park better than he has done in the past.
Yeah, look, Clona Blaze, not in styles, not really in the style of running, but he just strikes me a roar away. He just similar. He starts really well. He runs really well. He does the same clock nearly. He done the same clock last week, 29.55. He's not going to come out and do a 29.20 or 29.30, but he does the same thing every night, and he does it all extremely well.
It'd be no surprise if he was in the Derby final at 5 or 6 to 1 and trap 6 again.
And exactly. And we've seen with Royal Hawaii. I don't think Royal Hawaii was that kind of a dog for me. He always done the same. He was so consistent. You could set your clock to him, and this dog seems to be the same. Clonbrine Hero looked the winner at the third bend, but Clona Blaze just out-battled him for me and showed a bit more early pace. I was really impressed with Clona Blaze tonight. Pack and Heat ran on very well down the back straight. It looked a battle there between himself and Beam in Paradise to qualify. He stuck to that task well. We've talked about him a couple of weeks now. He's running quite well. But like you said, Clona Blaze, if you're looking for one that'll probably be a reasonably decent price, he might not do his 29.30 run, but he'll keep doing 29.50 odd, and that wins plenty of derbies.
We're now down to the serious stuff, the last 24. Next week's not about winning, it's about finishing the first 3. Same said the following week. There's 24 sets of connections out there dreaming of a derby success. What's going to win it?
Well, look, I obviously hope it's JAYTEE Taylor. He's done nothing wrong. I picked Magical Bale at the start, and I still like him. I think he took a bad bump tonight. I think he's tough, he's good. But like you said, the likes of Clona Blaze, they're dogs that we just haven't really talked up as of yet. They always come on the scene now. But yeah, look, I'm obviously a bit biased, but I think Taylor's done nothing wrong for me so far.
Indeed, Taylor's there, and he's pitching with strong Derby claims. Whatever happens next week, there will be shocks, have no doubt. There's a lot of big names left, a few will go out. We still are no closer to know what's going to win the Derby, although we know it's going to be from the last 24. Join us next week for the quarterfinals of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby.